Next to last day of August, the end of summer and beginning of fall. So, you know, for most of us, this time of year, it's kind of a quickening of our pace. We're brought into more interactions with people who've been away, more interactions with the arts, coming back to our ordinary life after a little summer break. But now, in these days, we just don't know. We don't know what we're facing. We have no idea what autumn will bring. Whether we'll just continue in our pods and bubbles, whether our nation state will survive, whether each of us can find new and creative ways to live under this new reality. The grief and anger we feel, the continued saga of racism in this country, we wonder, when will it end? We wonder, will it end? How can we stop the madness of the country we live in? We just don't know. This time truly is unique. And of course, all of our life is just about this very moment as it is, even if we want to reject what we see around us. This very moment is as it is right now. So my question for us today is, what is it that supports us? What helps us? What helped us before in our more ordinary lives? And now, what supports the lives we're living now? How do we manage the isolation, the fear of contagion, our reactivity to others who think differently than we do? How are we managing this appalling state of the country we're living? What supports us when these familiar systems fall apart? For shorthand, I just say the practice, meaning the triad of ethics, meditation, and wisdom. Our Zen path. We study the ethical precepts, not harming, not abusing, not stealing, not lying, not intoxicating. And at some point we take this and we say, this is a roadmap for my life. This is how I will live. And we commit to our daily meditation, to our Zazen, asking our samadhi to keep us awake, to keep us aware, to help us recognize the energies flowing through us, and help us to choose and support the healthy ones and let the unhealthy ones drop away. Through our Zazen, then, the precepts become alive. And this we experience Prajna, wisdom. We have the precepts. We have our Zazen that helps us to interrogate our actions. And that allows us to enter into the realm of wisdom. of Prajna. You know, Prajna in Sanskrit, pra means before or fullest, and nya means knowing. So before knowing, the greatest wisdom, Prajna. Like no other time in my life, I see that right now is the most important time for me to appreciate and to practice not knowing. Prajna. Which brings me to the koan that we're studying in our path class this month. It's from the Book of Serenity, and it's called Roso's Not Understanding. It's case 93 in that book. So in this story, Roso asks his teacher, Master Nansen, about the mani jewel. Now, the mani jewel is a kind of much discussed symbol, and it has various shades of meaning. But in Zen, usually the mani jewel is our Buddha nature. Is that nature that arises in wisdom. And through that Buddha nature, we can see the whole world around us as reflected in a jewel. So that is the Buddha nature that shines a light on our connection with all things, that enlivens our compassion and our wisdom. So naturally, being human, our Buddha nature comes and goes. And when we're not in touch with our Buddha nature, our mani jewel, when we're not in touch with our mani jewel, we don't understand how to use it. How to make our Buddha nature expansive in our lives. How to allow our Buddha nature to express itself in our lives. We miss it. We do not understand it. So in the preface to this koan, this lack of understanding of our Buddha nature is likened to a magpie playing with a piece of jade, or an old rat with a gold nugget. They just don't know what to do with these valuable things. And each of us here today have our Buddha nature, each of us, our mani jewel, our perspective of life. But often, sadly, it is unavailable to us, just like a piece of jade is to a magpie or a gold nugget to a rat. Where is this mani jewel? Where can we find it? So traditionally, you know, in the scriptures, the mani jewel is hidden within a mind, within a storehouse of consciousness. So the jewel, we think, rests in a storehouse of the gates of perception. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. So we have these perceptions. And within this repository are the modes of perception and the workings of mind, both conscious and unconscious. Sounds very abstract. But for example, when I meet a person on the street who refuses to wear a mask, which is always very triggering for me, I have to confess. How does my mani jewel, hidden within the repository of my senses and my mind, including my thoughts, my history, my feelings, how does it activate my Buddha nature at such a moment? Can I hear the whisper And believe me, in my case, it is a whisper of the Mani jewel. You are not separate from the other. Can you find a way to help them, to serve them? Oh, that I could listen to my Mani jewel more often. But that is a way to look at this koan. The koan begins with Rosso saying that this Buddha nature, insight, this Mani jewel is hidden in a consciousness, in a storehouse consciousness. And he asks his teacher, what is this storehouse that contains the jewel of insight? And Nansen replies simply, it is the give and take of you and me. It is the give and take of you and me. After what I imagine is a few minutes, Rosso responds, well, what about no give and take? And Nansen says, yeah, that's also the storehouse. Rosso then says, well, then what about the jewel? And Nansen calls out his name, Rosso. Rosso says, yeah. Nansen shakes his head and says, you don't understand. Get out of here. What happened there? That sweet little interaction. Rosso asked, Nansen answered. It's the give and take. There it is. He's pointing to it. What's happening? Rosso asks again. And again, Nansen answers. Even when there's no response, still, there's the storehouse. The storehouse filled with our memories, with the changing light, the sounds around us, our body posture, our whole sense melange sits ready, holding our Mani jewel of wisdom. So Rosso says, where's my jewel? Nansen says, Rosso. Rosso, yeah. Missing the point. Missing the point. Like a magpie, like a rat. We hear our name and we fail to recognize the jewel of our ongoing give and take. We keep grasping for something else, some concept, some set of words that are out there. What is this jewel? Enkyo? Huh? You missed it. So, what stops us from seeing that? It's as if the storehouse, which is filled with our sense impressions, nevertheless sits empty and abandoned. Zen practice, one of the things that attracted me to Zen is it relishes that which cannot be spoken. Because the minute we try to fix it, it's changed. It is moved. It can't be grasped. It can't be packaged. It can't be titled. The deepest insight is the power of the darkness within the light. In the poem that Hongxi attached to the koan, there's a wonderful reference to an old story in this Zhuangzi, the ancient Taoist text. In this story, the emperor has lost a valuable jewel, resonant of our koan, and the emperor decided to send someone, an advisor, to go and find the jewel. So the first he sends knowledge to find it. But knowledge couldn't find it. So then he sent someone named Free from Stupidity to find it. But Free from Stupidity couldn't find the jewel. Then the emperor sent someone named Eating Blame, but he could not find it. So finally, the emperor sent Mosho, no form, formless, and formless found it. This story reminds us that knowledge, no matter how much we study, can't reach it. And even freedom from stupidity, no matter how clever we may be, won't reach it. Not even eating shame's great humility and holiness just can't reach it. Only the formless quality of not knowing can access the wisdom of the money jewel. Not knowing opens all the doors to Prajna, to that state before we know and fix something, that state of potentiality, of openness, of readiness to the unknown. And it is the first of the 3 pure precepts of the Village Zendo and the Zen peacemakers. Not knowing, thereby giving up fixed ideas of ourselves and the universe, is the precept of ceasing from evil. Not knowing, thereby giving up fixed ideas of ourselves and the universe, is the precept of ceasing from evil. This is what I think can support us these days. It is a vital teaching in these difficult times. Our storehouse consciousness is filled with conflicting information about the pandemic, the tragedy and the raw truth of racism in this country, the politics, the very character of the city and country that we live in, and the health of the world. In the midst of this cacophony in our storehouse consciousness, we can allow our own feelings of fear and anger and loss, as well as those of joy and love and optimism. Because we can be assured that our money jewel, our Buddha nature, will continue to offer us refuge and enable us to act with kindness and compassion towards all creations. I encourage all of us to really take this in and allow ourselves to experience our money jewel, the jewel that is resting within each of us. And I have a little gatha I've written for you for the end. Here's the key to my storage unit. Inside, there's a contraption that mirrors the joys and sufferings of the world. It asks, how can I help? How can I serve? Sometimes it messes up, but mostly it keeps the faith. Thank you.